crack in with a couple of comments. Firstly, good to see that in fact New Zealand did not go into technical recession earlier this year with a revision to the March quarter numbers. Flat growth obviously, but does not fit the definition. But particularly pleasing news about the June quarter numbers with 0.9% growth, exceeding market expectations, almost doubling market expectations in fact, and ahead of where the pre-fu was as well at 0.6%. Good to see the growth in the quarter across a number of sectors, driven by the services sector in particular, not just tourism, but also within business services generally, but also to see manufacturing growing as well during the quarter. So this does show that we've got a resilient New Zealand economy. These have been incredibly tough times for businesses and households. We have turned a corner, in my opinion. I think that the New Zealand economy has got through a particularly tough time. There will be challenges ahead, but this does set us up well for the rest of the year. Well, I certainly think it's a victory for the New Zealand economy and for the people who work hard every single day to make sure that we deliver good quality jobs. You know, exporters have had a really tough time, and you can see through these numbers that they've worked hard to keep getting goods and services out into market. I've always felt that the New Zealand economy was resilient. We've had the tick of approval from the ratings agencies who've had a look at what we're doing, and I know we're in a very political period at the moment, but these sort of statistics give me heart that we've genuinely turned a corner.
Fiscal license sort of weeks direct the economy and similar sort of language.
I think Christopher Luxon's got to stop talking down the New Zealand economy. I mean, he went overseas earlier in the year and did that, and he's continued to do it throughout this election campaign. We have New Zealanders, businesses, workers, every single day going out there and making sure we are growing good jobs, we're getting good export earnings. I think we should be backing those people. That's what we've done over the last 6 years. It's been an incredibly challenging time for everyone in New Zealand, and getting the balance right and how we keep the economy moving forward, but we also see inflation coming down, is tough. Every single moment in that, we've been looking for how we can help with that, and I'm pleased to see that these results show that that's coming off. No, it's not, Ben. A technical recession in New Zealand does not include 0%, which is what that is. Well, you would have noticed, Eric, in my comments, I've credited the people out there, but the government has made sure that we've kept a careful balance in our approach to the economy. We've continued to support and invest in businesses. We've continued to make sure that our trading relationships are improving, and we believe that over the course of the last 6 years, we've built up a pretty good record of managing the economy. But obviously, it's the workers and the businesses who go out every single day in tough and challenging times and get there.
In the One News poll, more people thought National would be better economic managers than Labour. Is that disappointing to you?
Well, it's not unusual is what it is. It's a long-term trend in those sorts of surveys. These results show that our management of the economy is helping New Zealand turn the corner. Everybody knows how challenging the last few years have been because they've experienced it themselves. The government has tried throughout that period of time to get the balance right, to support the kind of economic growth that we're seeing here, whilst also being careful with our finances. I believe that we have managed the economy well, and the results are here.
Are you worried this result?
Look, I know it's been hard for people. You know, we have a thing called a technical recession in New Zealand, and I'm just making the point that the numbers have been revised so that that wasn't the case. None of that takes away from how difficult it's been for households. That's why we as a government have stepped up continually to support people, and it's why in this election we're continuing to propose more cost of living support in a targeted way.
Why does growth like the inflationary side?
Yeah, look, I've seen some commentary on that. I think overall, when you look at annual growth, you look at the direction of travel, this growth will fit broadly within where the Treasury have been forecasting. The Reserve Bank have laid out their track around interest rates. I obviously don't comment specifically on that, but I think broadly this is sustainable and balanced.
Christopher Luxon said this morning that he plans to release the sort of fiscal plan early next week, so the week that overseas voting starts and less than a week before early voting starts. Is that cynical and democratic?
Well, I've said many times, in 2017 we produced a fiscal plan which we then updated after pre-fu. I believe that's what National should have done.
Do you have any regrets, this far on from the budget around the level of expenditure? I'm yet to talk to an economist who believes that was a prudent level of expenditure, which now creates this issue around inflation.
Well, bear in mind that the budget shows inflation coming back down between 1% and 3%, and the pre-fu update shows that in 2024. We have to get a balance right. With due respect to the economists, we're not just running a technical exercise here. We're running a country where we have to look after people and get the balance right between that and how the macro picture looks. I think the macro picture is still strong, and that's backed up by the international agencies. Yeah.
Could you just comment a bit about the entities that are facing our governments?
Yeah, look, overall, most sectors do well in the quarter that you see here, but you're right to point out that retail is one where there's a bit of a struggle, and we know that's because people are being careful and cautious in their spending at the moment as they work through the challenges that we're facing. But I think if you look overall at the economy, this is a resilient picture that you're seeing here. There will, of course, be challenges ahead. And my view about that is the way to deal with those challenges is to have the continuity and the stability and the balance that we're providing. What I'm hearing from the National Party is that they have uncosted tax cuts that actually will be inflationary and that actually will drive up the price of housing. Those sorts of initiatives are the wrong approach in this economy. People like the retail sector need stability and certainty, and that's what we're giving.
Do you think it's sort of anti-democratic though?
Well, that'll be up to them to decide. They should release the costing so we could all decide whether they're affordable.
Do you think it's anti-democratic though? Just, this is a fiscal election, it's a cost of living election, and their main policy, which is tax cut and how they'll afford it, is not going to...
Well, let's be absolutely upfront. They cannot afford the tax cuts that they are proposing on the basis that they've proposed them. In terms of what they should be putting in front of the electorate, yes, I do agree. Voters deserve to see how they're paying for it. It's not just the tax cuts, bear in mind. I mean, they've got a $10 billion hole in their transport plans, and they've made quite a few other promises on the election campaign which we're yet to see how they fit within the allowances that are available. So New Zealanders do deserve to have time to understand National's costings. Just one more point on that. It appears to me that they're trying to take the same approach with their fiscal plan that they have with their tax plan, which is that they'll just bluster on in the face of most people telling them it doesn't add up and just say it does and hope that there's only 2 weeks left. That definitely isn't good enough.
The other area where national communities have had their head in the sand is potential governing arrangements after the election. I mean, Luxon was very, very close in quite there in terms of how he might work with the Conservative on News Talk 7 this morning. Does he just need to front up and say in what ways he's working?
Well, again, slightly out of my area, but Chris Hipkins has been extremely clear about our position. I think New Zealanders deserve the same clarity from Christopher Luxon. I have absolutely no doubt that David Seymour and Winston Peters will run rings around Christopher Luxon, and it will be an unstable coalition. But at the very least, he needs to be upfront with voters now.
Do you appreciate that it's a bit hard for you to attack National's tax and its integrity when your tax plan isn't that good in the sense of that GST policy, not being supported by any expert or anyone credible? It's really hard.
Two different things, though, because I get the fact that some people don't think that that is necessarily the best tax plan. But it isn't a debate about whether it literally can be afforded. And I don't think now anyone standing here actually thinks National's tax cut plan can be afforded. I'll just take a couple more. On what, sorry?
On GDP.
Yeah.
Our annual growth rate over the past 20 years is about 2.5%. We're kind of on track to do that up to 2021, 2025. We have done good and bad. Is that a good outcome to you? Is it quite enough? Do you think GDP is like to target?
Oh, I tend not to do that, but I think what that reflects is the circumstances we've been in. And I think when you look overall, we're 7.7% bigger than we were before COVID in terms of this economy. That is a good result. And given the headwinds we've all been facing, I think hitting around that 2.5% average is a good one too.
Richard. This morning, National have released their tertiary education policy, which relies very heavily on increased numbers of foreign students. We're running record immigration at the moment. The question was asked the other night in that debate in Queenstown whether you would favour an immigration target. When you look at all of these kind of pressures at the moment.
Yeah, I still don't, Richard, because a numerical target could have quite perverse outcomes depending on the kind of sectors you were trying to bring people in for. In terms of the international education side of the picture, this is back to the future stuff because Stephen Joyce made that whole sector rely on international students, and we're now currently suffering the impact of that because when that market dried up, for reasons we all understand, the universities found themselves in serious trouble. We've got a funding review that we've kicked off to make sure that we actually get a better system to fund our universities. International students will always be a part of that, but the excessive reliance on them that National have, I don't think is good for the sector.
And infrastructure implications.
Well, look, you have to be prepared to invest heavily in infrastructure in order to meet the demands of our population as it grows. That's why we've got $77 billion worth going in over the next 5 years. We are playing catch-up. No doubt, because we didn't invest in other times of population growth. But, the old story, the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago, the second best time's today.
You were in the last cabinet that Winston...
I'll just say yours and then Felix's.
You were in the last cabinet that Winston Peters was a member of as well. Is your recollection that he's a pretty chaotic force to work with?
Look, I think... Yes, in some ways he was, but in other ways we got a lot done. I'm more focused on what he's saying now, and what he's saying now I think will be a recipe for chaos alongside David Seymour and Chris Luxon. Sorry, I'm just...
National has been hammering the Labour Party for months about mismanagement of the economy. How are you feeling today? What is your main message to them?
Well, my message is that the New Zealand economy is resilient, that New Zealanders are working extremely hard and they need a government that backs them. That's what Labour has been doing. Christopher Luxon has been running the New Zealand economy down for too long. He needs to take a look at the actual facts and realise that in a very tough period of time, we've got the balance right. Got to go, guys. No, these are good results, but we've got to keep working hard.
Can you pick a result for the All Black League?
We have to win.